Hi there, welcome to the Seedy Gardener. Today we're putting in a brand new garden, which I'm going to call the kitchen garden, because everything you need for the kitchen for, you know, 2 people, perfect for a couple or a small family. Right, let's get into it. Now, this bed used to have strawberries in it and a few potatoes and some rhubarb. I've ripped that out and now we just need to add some new compost. Now I've got some trusty Daltons here and I've got a wheelbarrow full of my own compost, which we'll chuck on. Compost is key for soil health. This is made up of potting mix and topsoil already, so we're just adding a little bit more, just a little bit of a top up for the new season. Compost is full of bacteria and mycelium, which is a fungus, and that all works together under the surface to get your garden really cranking. Right, let's get into it. Wearing gloves. Right, now I've made my own compost, which I'll show you how to do in another episode. I make my compost in the chicken house, so it's full of all the good stuff that comes out the other end of a chicken. Right, I actually think that'll be about enough. Nah, you can never have too much. I really want this garden to crank, so I'm giving it a bit of special treatment, a little bit more compost than I'd normally have put, but with my big garden, I probably don't have enough compost for everything I need, but I'll treat this one just right. Right, that'll be enough. So going to add some blood and bone. Blood and bone is exactly that, it's blood and bone. So directions on the back, but you can't go too wrong. Probably don't breathe it in. We're going to put that on top and then we're going to dig all this in. Right, that'll be enough. Had to go get my fork. Now, you just want to give this a little bit of a turn in. You're not double digging it, you're not digging it down to, you just want to combine the good stuff we just put in with what's already in there. Now you can do this by turning it over, or you can just kind of get in there. Doesn't really matter, there's no trick to it. Great workout gardening. I don't go to a gym and look at me. Right, so this bit I haven't really dug over, so if there's any big roots like this, you just want to chuck them out, pull them out, shake them off, get rid of that soil and keep going. As I said, keeps you fit. Whew. Now you just want to start raking it, kind of spread all that around, and as you go you'll pull these out. Shouldn't be too many weeds in here this year because it came from store-bought potting mix, and my compost should have no weeds, but we'll find out in a few weeks. Right, any lumps, you can chop those up. What you want to do now is you want to plan your garden out. So I've already got my plants now. Some I've grown from seed myself and I've had to buy some because they didn't come up. We have tomatoes along here, they're going to grow quite big, give them lots of room. We're going to have snow peas along here, then we're going to have a few veggies and some herbs. So I'll lay them out, I'll lay them out, and then I'll tell you what I'm doing. Right, so we've got a tall tomato here. That's a money maker. I think this is also a money maker. This is a Gardener's Delight, which is a little cherry, so we'll pop him over there. Right, we've got some perpetual spinach. Oh, we've got a small fry here, which is a little tomato, similar to a different type of cherry. I like to mix it up, you know, if you've got to put 4 tomatoes in, you might as well put 4 different ones in. We've got a few lettuces. We've got some coriander, some parsley, and some chives. These chives were from the supermarket. I cut them off, use them for breakfast, and I'm going to put them in. They should grow. We've also got some runner beans. I'll put those in there. We've got some red mizuna. It's a salad herb. We've got some rocket, and we've got some broccolini here, some little sprouting broccoli. They're going to be a bit massive, but we'll figure those out. Okay, got a line of perpetual spinach. We'll go 2 lines of lettuce there. Right, a row of beans, broccoli. Don't know where we're going to put those. Right, put some mizuna in here. Now we'll put the rocket in there, and this is kind of the herb area, so we can pop them along the back. Now I'm leaving a space along here for basil. Basil goes great with tomatoes, and but it's too early for that. Right, we've got the spring onions. Now, where are we going to put those? Maybe put those over here in the herb aisle. We'll do a nice line along here. I've also found some Carboto Nero. Now these guys are struggling a little bit. Let's look at our spacings. Now these here are all going to finish about here. Okay, and I think they'll be about right. You imagine one bean plant comes out to about here. There's a whole line of beans, whole line of Mizuna, whole line of rocket. Now these tomatoes are going to come up to this height if you let them. So these two are going to be big. Right, now these cherries are smaller, not like the large variety, but they are still going to grow. So you can train them or you can bush them. I'm just going to kind of see how they go. Now the spacing I've got in here is quite tight, but if this is the only garden you've got and you're trying to grow enough veg and not buy too much stuff, then you got to kind of push them together. Now if you feed them really well with good compost, bit of organic fertilizer, then they will grow just fine. Putting your plants in. Now you can either use a little fork or a little spade. It's not that hard. This soil is really loose. I can put my hand in up to my wrist. I've been using a fork recently. It's quite good. Now, laying them out in pots is a really good way to figure out kind of where you're going to go. Now, keep them away from the edge and a little bit in. That should be about right. And you want to space them out evenly. Grab your plant. Now, you can shove this in and just grab it, give it a little squeeze. Tip it upside down gently, supporting the bottom. Right, and pull that out. That's the little tag, chuck that in there. Now, I give it a little squeeze, just to free it up a little bit. Now tomatoes, if you pull these little leaves off, gently, and plant it up to here, all these little hairs are going to become more roots, okay? And so more roots equals a stronger plant. Right, shove your fork in, and literally you can just pull it back, plonk it in, right. And you don't need to press the soil really hard around, just like that. Good, done. Right, I'm going to get this going and I'll stop and tell you if there's anything you need to know. Right, so we've got some smaller seedlings here. Now, these are baby Carboto Nero, which is Tuscan kale or Italian kale. Now, same procedure as last time, give it a little squeeze, tip it upside down. Hopefully just that cell's going to come out. Right, so there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 in there. So we only need about 4. However, because they're so small, and I'm worried that slugs are going to get them, I'm actually going to plant a few. I'm going to plant half of this. Okay. And if they all grow, great, but I doubt they will. So we'll see how that goes. Now, I'm just doing a little hole like this. And I'm going to separate them out. So just kind of pull them apart very gently. Chuck that there. Great. Now if you're gentle, you should be able to pull them apart without damaging them. Takes a bit of practice, but you'll get there. And just lay them out so you can see your spacing. Right, now I'm going to take my gloves off. Little guys are pretty hard to handle. Chuck them in like that, easy as. Right, I'm actually just going to fill that back in and just use my finger and put it straight in there. Finger, pull it back, pop it in, easy as. Doesn't have to take long, doesn't have to be hard. Just get them in the ground and they'll start growing. They'll be away like rockets. This is going to grow about this big, so they say about 60 centimeter spacing. I'm going to try for about 40. These are going to be very tall, so that's okay. We'll plock one in here. We'll see how we go. Now, one of my theories about pest control is just plant a few more. And that way if the slugs eat 2, you've still got 2. All right, so I'm actually going to go 3 along here. As I said, it's a bit tight, but it'll be okay. Now, I bought these seedlings because the ones that I sowed didn't come up. So there's always the garden centre down the road. Now, give them a little loosen up. Great, plop them in. Perfect. Right, now peas. These peas are going to grow about this high. So I'll put them along here and I'll put a support along here and some strings. But for now, they can go the whole way. Now I've sown these from seed. They come up really easily once it's warm enough. Now snow peas are actually, they're not going to do so well in midsummer. They're in spring and autumn veg, but I just love them. So pop them out. Now we're going to have quite a lot. So I could divide these up, but I'm not going to. It's going to be too much stress for the plants, and it doesn't matter, they're going to go everywhere anyway. So I'm just going to plant these 6 out like this, give them a little massage, and pop them in. Right, now those roots, they've been in the container a bit long. I've been waiting for a fine day to do this video, but they'll be right. They'll figure their stuff out soon enough. Right, you want to figure out your spacing, so how many you've got in the space available. So 6, 7, 8. So easy. One there, one there. Oh well, we'll move those together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's always a bit of a juggling act. Right, loosen these guys up. So chuck him in there. Now you don't want to go below the crown. The crown is the little growing tip in there. They grow up to about this big each, but we pick them regularly for smoothies and salads. Now if you plant too many plants in the same garden, they will compete for light and space and nutrients, and you end up not really getting a good harvest off anything. So you wouldn't want to go any closer than what I've got here. I've been a bit keen, but you know, got to get lots in the garden. These 3 are a little bit small, so they can all go in the last hole together. Great, these are little gem lettuces. Now we're going to do 2 rows of these, about that wide apart. Now these are a baby cos, so they're very, very good eating, and they'll heart up to a nice little head like this. We're going to go about the same spacing as here. So pretty much the principle for planting all plants is, as my 72-year-old father says, put the green side up. 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, that's a lot of beans. Okay, I think we're just going to go 6 beans here. Okay, we're looking good. So nice straight rows, looks awesome. I'm going to use spring onions, which grow nice and tall and nice and straight, as a little border. This here is broken, I'm going to pull that off. This here is also broken. Now spring onions are an awesome thing to have in the garden, because you can just chop them off and they'll keep growing, which means spring onions all year round from one plant. That's great. So chuck that over there. Great. Don't worry, it'll grow back. Delicious. Right, so the Mizuna and the Rocket are still a little bit small because I've grown them from seed, so we're just going to leave these here for about 2 more weeks until they're big enough, then we'll plant them out. Okay, coriander. I've mass sown this. There's probably, I don't know, 100 coriander plants in here. I'm going to try and split that up into 3 or 4 clumps. So you want your herbs on the corner where you can easily pick them. Pull that apart. I'm going to go once more again. Right, now there's a few there that haven't got buried in. They'll be right. If they grow, they grow. If not, oh well. I've got some Italian parsley here. This takes up quite a lot of space, so I'm going to move him and put him over here. Okay, cool. So chives. Easy again. Just loosen the bottom. Now you could try and divide these like I did the coriander, but you might lose a few. So just loosen them up and then chuck them in. Right, now that's it. You want to give everything a really good water, you're there. If you buy your plants, chuck them in, you're done. Afternoon's work. Or grow them from seed, takes a bit longer, a lot more satisfying, and a lot cheaper. Awesome, happy gardening. Huh? Fed the chickens? Yeah, I've just got to water this and then I'm done. Right, so give everything a really good water, and you want to do this every day over the next week until they're really established, and then once or twice a week throughout the spring. In summer, you'll need to be watering every day. Happy gardening.